Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'm going to be working on my witch's tree. And first, before I begin work on it, I want to discuss what makes a tree spooky or a witch's tree. My witch's tree here is a Thuja occidentalis or Eastern White Cedar. And my goal for this tree is to make it look spooky, scary, and ugly. A graceful, smooth flowing tree doesn't look spooky, it looks beautiful. And this tree, I'm trying to style it the opposite to make it look contorted and ugly and old and barely surviving. And it's a hard thing for me to do because I'm drawn towards natural, beautiful, flowing trees. And I'm trying to make this tree ugly. And when I mean ugly, I mean in a beautiful way. Making interesting features on the tree that some people would consider ugly. Bulges, gnarls, deadwood, angular branches, and maybe drooping branches. And so that's what I'm trying to capture in this tree, is to make it ugly in a beautiful way. I think one element of a witch's tree is to have a root base that reaches out like a claw and grips the ground. It kind of looks spooky when you get all these roots kind of going around the rock here. Yeah, it looks like a hand or something grabbing the ground. And I think, a spooky tree needs elements of things that remind you of witches or humans, and I think it makes it look kind of scary. Another element to creating a spooky tree is to have a trunk that's full of knots and whorls and has mature bark. I've started to create deadwood on this tree. I stripped a live vein off the back of it long ago, and you can see it healing around. And I think these wounds and the healing help create a spooky looking tree. So I need to create, more deadwood or features on the front of this tree, if this is the front, to make this trunk look even spookier. So that's something I'll work on. I do have a lot of kind of dead branches at the top here, which kind of add to the feeling of an old spooky looking tree. So the roots is one element, the trunk is another, and then the third element is the branch structure. I think you need old, mature-looking branches that are very contorted, and I think you need a very sparse foliage to make it look like the tree has seen a lot of hardships, but is still alive. I'm going to begin the work on my witch's tree by pruning up the top branch structure. So unlike my typical prunings where I try and get nice flowing branches, on this tree I'm going to try and get short angular movement, maybe cascading, drooping. I think that's spooky when you have a weeping tree. So I won't be pruning it up in my typical fashion. I'll try and make it look as contorted and twisted as possible. The canopy on this tree is very full and lush at the moment, and it's quite flowing. So I'll need to come underneath the tree and examine the branch structure and try and prune it, shorten everything, prune for angularity, and maybe even weeping. So all my branches are kind of weeping. I think a weeping tree looks a bit more scary too. You kind of want your branches to look like arms reaching out, scary arms. So that's kind of the style I'm going for. And you see that a lot in Disney movies. Scary forests where the trees are in kind of a human form with arms, and that makes it look very spooky. I'm going to start by pruning the canopy up, and I'm going to reduce all these new shoots that have grown over the summer back as far as I can, making the tree compact. So I will always leave healthy green foliage at the base of each branch, but I'll shorten it as much as I can. So you can see this one sticking up here. I've got some good foliage down lower, so I can at least prune it to here, taking the top off that branch. And I'll do that for all the branches. Here's another one. You can see it's got good healthy foliage down lower, so I can prune the tip off. So I'll go around the entire tree and prune it all back, and then we'll step back and look at it and decide what further pruning is required, removing branches, and trying to make the tree look as spooky as possible. I have finished round one of the pruning. There's what I took off, so a lot of branch tips. So here's what the tree looks like now. So you can see it's still quite a mass of foliage. You can't really see the branch structure or anything. It's still way too dense. So next I'm going to do branch selection. So, you know, maybe some of these ones sticking up will get pruned off. I'll try and prune to some cascading branches. So this is kind of the styling part of the branch selection. So there's the front of the tree. You can see the structure more now. I'm definitely not finished yet, but you can see there's some progress. Here I have a bit of a whirl of branches that I think need a bit of sorting. Yeah, so it's just a matter of, you know, going through, examining every branch, making sure it has light, and, you know, pruning it up artistically, how you envision this tree to look. So it's a very subjective pruning. There's no rules. It's just, you know, what you think looks good. A balance between foliage and, you know, the structure of the tree. Here is a look at the tree from the front now. So you can see a lot of it is kind of cascading. You can see the branch structure more. It's opened it up. So it definitely looks a little more of a witch's tree now. I'm not done yet. I still have some areas to work on. It's a little high over here. I think I've got to work on reducing this part. So I have a vertical shoot here I can remove. This branch can be cut back. Here is a look at the tree. So you can see it's kind of all weeping now, and I kind of like that. I think it's a bit spooky for a witch's tree. So from above you can see the foliage is nicely placed, everything's getting light. You can see the branch structure now, which is important. As I said, it's sparse foliage, twisty branches. So on the trunk I have, you know, a few features, but I think I've got to make more to make that trunk a little more interesting and spooky looking. I'm happy with the top of the tree now. I think it's pruned up quite nicely. So at the back of the tree, I created this kind of deadwood feature here, and I'm sure someday it'll rot away and it'll make kind of a bit of a hollow in the trunk here, and it may even heal around this wound eventually. So I think that'll become a nice feature. It's at the present moment on the back of the tree, but you know, it's quite possible that the front of this tree could change, maybe somewhere here, so you can see the deadwood. There's some deadwood here, there's some deadwood here. Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities. I did have like a strip of deadwood here that's completely healed over. It's left a nice scar. I like it. Yeah, so I don't know. Do I, create some more deadwood here? I could. Maybe some strips. There's a branch that was pruned off here. I could take a strip of wood off down lower, creating a deadwood feature there. And, my goal is to have that close over again, so it just creates scar tissue. So maybe I'll try that. I'll peel back from where these branches were removed, creating a feature on the trunk. So I will come in here with the scissors and try and start removing a live vein off the tree. That's working. There we go. So that's looking pretty good. As I said, I don't want it too big, but not too small. I want it to heal over and create scar tissue. Yeah, so there's a bit of a feature on the trunk, and that'll heal like this one up here, which will look quite nice. I could create one from here too. I think I better. Nice. That's good enough for that one. Yeah, so I'll let those heal and see what the results are like, and I can always create more in the future if I need it to get even gnarlier looking the trunk. Here is a look at what I took off the tree today. So quite a bit, a lot of foliage. I would say compared to what's left on the tree, I probably took half the foliage off. At the base of the tree I have, all this moss growing around the root base. So this is a root over rock. You can see the rock here. I'm going to leave the moss on this one. With the moss you can get more roots growing into the moss, and it'll further ramify the root system. On my other little Cedar Spirit tree, I removed all the moss, and I'll show you what that looks like now. Here's a look at the little Cedar Spirit tree. So you can see the roots gripping the rock there. Looks pretty cool. The roots are starting to get a bit of a bark color to them. Yeah, so that's coming along nicely too. I've completed the work on my witch's tree for today, so let's fly in now and have a final look at the tree. Each year my witch's tree is making a little more progress to becoming a spookier and scarier looking tree. So that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.